Be seated. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Doing good? You know, I do this in orientation on Tuesday. I say, how's everybody doing? If I get an answer like that, I ask again. So let's try that again. How's everybody doing tonight? Okay, so we were louder, but just not very convincing still. So anyways, we're going to go with louder and take it, okay? Listen, we're all alive, and I'm reminded that we're on the right side of the grave. So that's good, right? Yeah. Nobody else? All right. So welcome again to Bykota Baptist Church. Earlier I had lost the signal on the Facebook Live, and so we do have it back. And so if you missed the first part of that, I do apologize. We're going to talk about some positive social media tonight, starting with this one here. And this is important for us to remember, no matter where you are in your walk and in your faith. God has a purpose for your pain. He has a reason for your struggle and a reward for your faithfulness. Trust Him and don't give up. Now I'm going to tell you something. On positive social media platforms, I've noticed, and possibly because I've had some Facebook issues, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I've noticed that there's not been very much positive put out there. Like the last 2 weeks, it's been kind of scarce, so I've actually had to search these out, right? And I went to a different site to find them this week. But I love the positivity. We're talking about persecution, right? Persecution is where you're attacked basically for being a Christian, right? All kinds of different things go into that. You know, whether it's you're praying for a meal and somebody has something to say under their breath, or perhaps out loud they're snickering at you, they're having fun at your expense, right? But you don't let that shake you because your faith is strong enough that you're just kind of like, yeah, let them talk, you know. But the thing is, the persecution that I was starting to see in my Facebook is that when I was liking and sharing posts, and they would put them on live media or events, or we put them on a video to send out later on, they were actually starting to pull videos from my account. They were blocking videos. And believe it or not, that's a form of persecution. Okay? And so that means one thing, right? What does that mean? We're on the right track. Okay? Because if you're not suffering any persecution, it's probably because you're not doing very much to get it, right? And so when you start to see little things, that's signs that are telling you you're doing the right thing. So keep that up. Those of you that put messages out there, a lot of times they end up in the slides, right? Especially when they hit me right between the eyes. I'm definitely going to put them on there. Okay. Next, we talked about this in the prayer, but it couldn't be more true. God is the best listener. You know, sometimes when you talk to a friend, you're not really looking for advice. You're not really looking to hear what they think. You just want somebody that'll hear you. You know what I mean? Everybody's been there. Sometimes you don't want to vent. You just want somebody to hear you. And God listens to everything. Every time you talk to Him, He takes everything in. And He hears every word you say. Okay? So God is absolutely the best listener. Third, I don't want to take it out of context, but somebody used the word religion. I don't look at Christianity as religion. I don't. I look at it as a way of life. Okay, it is a devotion that you make in your life and then beyond, right? So religion boils down to just so many things, and it leaves too many doors open. And so this says, religion says, I obey, therefore I am accepted. Christianity says, I am accepted, therefore I obey. Okay? So we obey the words of Christ because Christ loves us. He died on the cross to show that. I mean, was raised again on the third day, just like he said he would be. And it's funny because we talk about this. The disciples, they were told about this, that was going to happen several times leading up to it actually happening. And when Jesus was on the cross and being crucified, the disciples were still lost. They were like, what is happening? What is going on? Right? And it really didn't dawn on them fully until Jesus raised on the third day and came and presented himself in their presence. He was right there in front of them. And, they were able to see the scars in his hands. He was right there. Right? And so then it started to make sense. But everything leading up to that, they were lost. And so sometimes I feel like we're in the same boat. And then the last one I have tonight is one that Kathy shared with me. And I think she was trying to beat me up with it, but I'm going to use it tonight anyways. All right. Never trust your tongue when your heart is bitter. Hush until you heal. Okay? And it's so important that you don't speak out of anger. Because you're in an angry state, you say things generally that you don't mean, and you're not really mentally prepared to deal with your response anyways. And so it's another thing that boils down to personal self-control. Where are you at? And sometimes that's why you tell your kids, even if you know you're going to spank them or whatever, you tell them to go to their room and just wait for you. And they're not waiting so much in your anticipation for them to fear what's coming, even though that generally happens and turns out to be a good thing sometimes. But it's really waiting for you to calm down and really be in control of yourself so that you don't go in there like a burglar and you're about to hurt somebody. You want to be in control of yourself before you do that. So definitely a good thing. All right. Ready to get started? Yeah. Okay. So what is the best response? And this is going to be a couple questions tonight to start us off. What is the best response when someone publicly disrespects you? Y'all, anybody, just raise your hand if you've ever been publicly disrespected. I think everybody can put their hand up, right? It's a pretty fair statement. So, what is the best response? Okay? As we're thinking about the best response, let's think about the response we generally give to get them back. Right? Isn't that what the initial desire is? They hurt me, so I'm going to hurt them back. Okay? What is the best response if someone were to come up to you and spit in your face? Just walk up out of nowhere and spit in your face. I know a lot of big old boys that would probably put you on the ground. Okay? And back in the day, I was one of them. Still might be. I have no idea if you catch me in the right mood. What is the best response if someone were to cuss you or hit you for no reason? You're just walking by somebody and they just shove you off into a shelf at Walmart. Or they mutter something under your breath and you know clearly they're talking about you. What is the best response? And so let's contemplate those answers in our minds and in our hearts tonight as we prepare. See, we as people struggle with what the right thing is to do. Especially when things in our lives become harder and start to become difficult. Right? When things are going great, we generally feel like we're doing just fine, don't we? But when that adversity comes, when that issue comes, now we're kind of forced to do something. At least in our minds, we feel like we have to do something about it. Okay? And truth being, our sinful nature in response to an attack is to want to attack back or get even. How many times have you ever heard somebody say, I'm going to get even. I'll get even with you. I hadn't forgotten. I know Weldon and I playfully say that all the time. Sometimes we're not playing. Right? But there's a difference between playing and friends and, really wanting to hurt somebody because they hurt you. You're never gonna create love with hate. Hate will never produce love. It can't. It's incapable of it. But what does produce love is love. And so we're going to get there. All right? We're going to cross that. The focus for tonight, though, this is the real question. This is going to be the topic. Does meekness equal weakness? Okay? Does meekness equal weakness? And so I had a lot of times when we talk about meekness, I have a lot of people ask me, what does that mean? What is that word? Never heard it before. I've heard weakness, but I've never heard meekness. So the definition of each. Meekness is a noun, and this is according to Wikipedia, the fact or condition of being meek, and then it says submissiveness. Isn't it amazing that God keeps pointing us back to this? That is good. Okay. Then weakness also is a noun, and it is the state or condition of lacking strength. Like I said, there again, according to Wikipedia. So we're gonna cover both roads, but I'm gonna obviously focus on meekness more. And so, application, if you will, turn with me in your Bibles, Psalm 37, verses 5 through 11. That's where we're gonna start tonight. And I apologize, I was running late. I didn't really give myself a lot of prep time. But I will get there. That gives you a chance to get there as well. Okay. Verse 5 says, commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. He will make you righteous. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. It's telling us right there not to worry about it. We know it's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Let it happen. Okay? All right? Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Those are things we're called to do. That means we've got to be in control of ourselves, right? Breaks back down to self-control. Do not fret. It leads only to evil. For those who are evil will be destroyed, but those who hope in the Lord will inherit the land. A little while, and the wicked will be no more. Though you look for them, they will not be found. But the meek will inherit the land and enjoy peace and prosperity. Okay? So, the meek inherit the land. And so I started thinking about that. And there's several different meanings to that. Will you gain land? Yeah. Will you gain prosperity? Yeah. So what things come with that? Prosperity and faith is one of the things that I look to. The wicked will be removed. But the righteous will still be around. That's all you're going to be able to find is righteous people. The wicked will be, you can look for them. It says right there, you can look for them, but you're not going to find them because they're not there. Okay? They've been removed. So, meekness in the Bible is actually relating to, as you look at a definition, is gentle and humble. Okay? Gentle and humble. So, going on from there, I'm going to go to a book that I have personally not spent a lot of time in, and that is going to be Zephaniah, chapter 3, verses 9 through 13. And that'll take me just a second to get to. So you're free to turn there with me if you like. And it is a huge book. No, it's not. Okay? It is actually, the whole book is actually 3 chapters. And so we're going to the last chapter, chapter 3, verses 9 through 13. And it says, okay, then I will purify the lips of the peoples, that all of them may call on the name of the Lord and serve him shoulder to shoulder. From beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshipers, my scattered people, will bring me offerings. On that day, you, Jerusalem, will not be put to shame for all the wrongs you have done to me, because I will remove from you your arrogant boasters. Never again will you be haughty on my holy hill. But I will leave within you the meek and humble. The remnant of Israel will trust in the name of the Lord. 13 says, they will do no wrong. They will tell no lies. A deceitful tongue will not be found in their mouths. They will eat and lie down, and no one will make them afraid. So there's a lot of things I wanted to look at that in that section of verses there. The question is, so is it a waiting game? Right? And if you want to look at it that way, then I guess, yeah, it is. We're waiting it out. Okay? But we're still called on mission while those things are happening. We're still trying to seek and save the lost. We're still trying to share the gospel with the people. And even with all this adversity, and I like the way that Linville said it. You know, honestly, if you're not dealing with any persecution, it's because you're not doing anything. That's hard to hear. But it's something we all need to be very aware of. If you're not getting any persecution, it's because you're not doing anything. When you're getting persecution, it means you're on the right track. Keep going. Okay? Even if it's just little things. Little attacks, subtle attacks, they exist because the devil is trying to go against you. You're going against the flow. It produces, in what I was reading, it produces additional hope because none of it will be something that you will deal with forever. You're not always going to deal with wickedness. You know, one day the wickedness and all the lies, there will not be a lie told. Everything will be truth. That sounds pretty perfect, doesn't it? I mean, how many times have you ever asked somebody a question, you just wanted them to tell you the truth? You knew the truth might be hard. And you knew they might try to deviate from it. Maybe they're trying to protect you. Right? Maybe they're trying to protect themselves. But all you wanted was the truth. The day of truth is coming. The day of not running from wickedness, not being afraid, not having any fear at all is coming. Not worrying about locking your doors. I mean, all the things that you worry about, all the fears that you have just being gone. Just, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Not at all. It sounds amazing. So, why should we practice meekness? Why should it be something we even look at and get involved in? And I can honestly say there are many reasons and possibly many ways to answer the question. I'm about to share with real believers the best answer to this question. And that's of course my opinion, but I'm pulling the opinion from the Bible, so I'm still going to call it the best answer. Okay? The best answer for you to practice meekness is because you want to go to heaven. Okay? That's how we're called to live. That's how we're called to inherit. You will inherit everything. You will inherit the prosperity. You will inherit the land. It'll be yours. You can have it, but you have to do some things to get it, right? You don't just get it to act like however you want to and go out in the world and do whatever you want. And God's going to say, well, one day you wanted it, so I held it for you. No. Right? We're called to live to, we're called to pick up our cross and carry it on our shoulder every single day. And that's hard. That's hard. It's hard to not have a response when terrible things happen to us, at least in our mind. But when you practice it, when somebody says something to you, cusses you under their breath, if you learn to just, whatever, and just walk away. Don't even let it bother you. The more you practice that, get this, the easier it gets. Okay? And I am not 100% versed in that practice. I still get irritated. I get irritated on the road. Kathy tells me I have road rage. I think I got a little better. But what I don't like is when somebody turns right in front of you, going like 5 miles an hour on a busy street, you're flying, and they pull right out and go, oh, why? Okay, but it happens. And there again, that's another opportunity. I think God does that to us a little bit to have us practice our self-control. Puts those situations in our lives to see, are you ready? What are you going to do if I throw a little roadblock out there in front of you? What are you going to do? You know, it's kind of funny when you think of it that way. So, how do we practice meekness? How do you go about applying it? Well, we first have to understand our need for it in every single thing that we do. Okay? It has to be a real thing. Just like needing food, just like needing water, just like needing to clothe yourself, you have to prepare yourself to be meek in everything that you do. And a lot of times it's about just, you ever hear somebody tell you bite your tongue? Now you can literally do that. It hurts, okay? But you can do that. When you're about to say something crazy, just get control of your thought. Don't let it come out of your mouth. And when you practice not saying it, you eventually start practicing not thinking it. And so it does get easier, but it is a practice that takes some effort. Then we need to pay close attention to the middle of the next screen that I'm about to show you, because that is where our focus absolutely needs to be. And Kathy, if you will. That's the focus. Jesus is the focus. Jesus is the reason. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Okay? Nobody comes to the Father but through Him. Amen. And so, if that's where our focus is, everything gets easier. And it's not like the problems go away. It's not like they're gone. They haven't gone anywhere. The only difference is you don't care as much. Somebody says something to you, you're like, okay, well, that's how you feel. You're entitled to that. It just doesn't bother you as much. Then it happens, but it's like any other plan. It doesn't work if you don't work on it, okay? So it has to become something you work on. And it's good to remember in all things that we do who it is that we serve. And so if you will, turn with me to Mark chapter 15, and we're going to be focused on 21 through 32. If you're like me, you'll go too far and have to go back. That's okay. Everybody there? Okay, so 21 says, a certain man from Cyrene, Simon the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on his way in from the country, and they forced him to carry the cross. They brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. Then they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him. Dividing up his clothes, they cast lots to see what each would get. It was 9 in the morning when they crucified him. The written notice of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." They crucified 2 rebels with him, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by hurled insults at him, shaking their heads and saying, "So, you who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, come down from the cross and save yourself." In the same way the chief priests and the teachers of the law mocked him among themselves, "He saved others," they said, "but he can't save himself. Let this Messiah, this King of Israel, come down now from the cross, that we may see and believe." Those crucified with him also heaped insults on him. Even while he's up on the cross, and what we're not seeing, the picture that we're not necessarily looking at from what we've read right there, is at this point in the reading, he's already on the cross. But what about the way to the cross? They beat him. Man, they beat him. They pushed him. They mocked him. They didn't give him anything to drink. I mean, he's carrying a heavy cross. And they're hitting him. And he's not hitting them back. They're cussing him. He's not cussing them back. They're doing everything horribly that you can imagine to him. And he's not responding. When they knock him down, he picks his cross up and continues on. He doesn't cuss them under his breath. He doesn't pick up a rock and throw it at one of them. When they give him this nasty drink as an offering to have a drink, he doesn't spit it in their face. They're spitting on him. They're hurling insults at him. "Where are you now? I thought you were the Son of God. Save yourself." Walking away, saying things like, "Pathetic." And he had no response. He's on the cross. Save yourself. If you are who you say you are, just get down. You don't have to go through this. Show these people so that they may believe. But see, they're not looking for an opportunity to believe. They're looking for an opportunity to hurt him. They're wanting a response. They are digging at him with everything they've got. And he's not responding. How difficult is that? I think about me personally. I think about people, our general reaction. You shove me, my initial thought, I'm just being honest, is to push you back. And I have to get control of myself so I don't do that. But Jesus didn't think it. That's why he was able to pick up and go on. It wasn't his mind. What was in his mind is the fulfillment of the will of his Father. Isn't that amazing? And if we can ever get our focus to that place, then it won't matter what's going on around us. It really won't. It'll have no bearing. It'll have no footholds, no strength against us. Right? We'll be strong. According to what we just read, I'm going to say this. Jesus always, even before the walk to the cross, displayed meekness. His entire life. Everything he did was in meekness. So what is weakness? Well, weakness is when we feel the need to speak out, to speak against someone that has something to say, or to push somebody back. Why do I say that? Because we lose our control. Somebody said something to us, and when you really back up and you look at what happened, what was said or what was done was so little and insignificant, but we lost full control. And we responded to it. And that to me is weakness. when we let go. And I've been weak before. That's why I can say it. I'm not picking on anybody. Right? I've done it. I've been there. I've done it. But that is an example of weakness, where we lose ourselves in that moment and do something crazy. Right? That's a form of weakness. Or when we start to become the person that wants to hurt others because somebody hurt us. That's weakness. Okay? When we start to rely on ourselves and stop focusing on that cross, that's weakness. Okay? And strength is definitely, it's a submissive faith. Having faith, and faith is, what is faith? You know? Faith is believing in something that you can't always see, you can't always feel, you don't even always know if it's around you, but you still believe in it anyways. You know, somebody said, give me an example. The only example I was able to come up with was wind. Okay? You can't see it, but you can feel it. People say, well, you can see it. I see the leaves. I say, no, you see the things blowing in it, but you don't see the wind. Right? So that's what faith is like. You can't always see him at work, and you can't always see him directly in front of you, but you can feel it, and you know he's there. You know he is. We're talking about this, what is it, last week, Liv, when we were talking about God giving you messages through other people? I think Gary was talking about it. I'll tell you what, God does that often. And if you're like me, you miss it. And sometimes later on in the evening, when it may not even have any value anymore, I wouldn't say no value, but when you're not in the power play, I guess, of it, when you notice it right away, you acknowledge God's presence right away. You know, I've gone and laid down, had my eyes closed, and I'm about ready to go to bed, and it just dawns on me. You were speaking to me right there, and I missed you. Completely missed you. I got it now, but I certainly missed it then. By the way, Jesus carried his cross even to the point of death. He witnessed the true meaning of both meekness and strength. You know, telling you, meekness is in the way of the life that you have, where, you know, he was no stranger to not being accepted. He was no stranger to having people not believe. You know, the King of the Jews. Hey, way before he ever got to the cross, folks. You know, people always had something to say about it. People will always have something to say. He knew that. Didn't let it bother him. In fact, his response, how many times in the Bible do you ever see Jesus respond in anger, scream at somebody, or get mad and go have a little tissy fit in the corner? It never happened. Never happened. True definition of meekness and strength. In my closing thoughts tonight, I want to share with you, meekness does not mean that you become the world's doormat. Okay? It's hard to separate that, but being meek doesn't mean that, you know, you continue to get shoved around every day by the same person and allow it to happen. And I'm not saying you punch a guy in the nose and knock him out, but I am saying that you eventually have to confront it somehow. Okay? You have the right to defend yourself. Okay? So don't go looking for a fight. If you get hit today and you fall down, and tomorrow you say, well, I'll tell you what, about 3 o'clock this guy walks by this locker, and when he does, I'm going to smack him with this door. No. Okay? What's in the past is in the past. But I'm talking about a future event that you can see oncoming. You do have the right to defend yourself. Okay? But don't be looking for a fight. Okay? Be trying to look for the most peaceful way to resolve issues. Okay? And you can talk out a lot of it, even when somebody's screaming at you. You just say, I can tell that you're not in a good mood, so let's just talk about this when we're both calm down a little bit. And see if you can separate that way. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but you know, you can try different things to get there. But when we focus on Jesus, things like these become less and less important because he becomes more and more important. Okay? You got to start to change your focus a little bit, right? The things in your life that really have no bearing, you start to see them for what they are. And the things that have the most value, you start to see more and more, right? Meekness is definitely not weakness. So, I want to share a graph with you that's very concerning to me. In this graph I pulled off the internet earlier today, and it says right here, use over time for meekness. And I'm not even going to pay attention to the word on the left. It does say mentions. Okay? It's talking about how often the word itself is mentioned. But I don't think that's what this graph is truly representing. I think it's how often it's practiced. And you look at it, it looks like in the year 1800, we're doing pretty good with it. We had a little fall off, about 1820, 1825, 1840, 1830 perhaps. We're back up. And then just watch this steady decline. We are getting numb to the things God's trying to teach us. We as a people, we're becoming numb to it. And thank God the line is not all the way down at the bottom. But we are getting numb to it. We got to bring that line back up. We have to start practicing the things that God is showing us. And when I saw that, it kind of hurt me. Because I know that meekness, the practice of meekness, has been a struggle in my life. It has. Trying to just let things roll off, right? Not even letting mediocre things bother you. Y'all remember in school, somebody would start a fight because they would say something about your mom. You know? Somebody would say somebody was fat, and somebody would say your mom, and it would turn into a fist fight in the hallway. I mean, looking back at that, how stupid, right? First of all, I've never met your mom. Okay? I have no idea what she looks like. So, obviously, the point of it is trying to get under your skin. And when you respond with a fist across the hall, guess what? They won. Okay? It's about self-control. Being aware that even when you're not in control, He is. And just turning it over to Him to say, you know what? I'm going to tie my hands behind my back because I know I'm going to do something stupid, and I'm going to walk away. And take it outside and maybe share a prayer, but talk to God because He is always listening. He is the absolute best listener. And perhaps tonight, it's one of those opportunities that you just want to acknowledge the fact that you don't have the best control of yourself. Maybe you have a lot of anger. Maybe you carry that with you. And I'll tell you what, that's something that runs in my family line. I don't know if there's any truth to it, blood or anything of that way, but I know that I've always been raised that way. My dad really, he would get angry, but he didn't use a lot of words. He wasn't that type to cuss you out. We talked the other day, right? We're talking about dads, and we're talking about my dad would give you looks, and the look was what you needed to focus on, okay? Because he'd give you a look, and he had a couple of looks. He'd have a look like he was checking on you, and he'd have a look like I've had enough. Okay? And that look, man, when I had enough, he wasn't playing. Okay? You received the look. That was the warning. And so if I kept on, Dad didn't let me down. Right? He came over and, he disciplined me for whatever I was doing. And so, but perhaps maybe that's part of what's going on with this whole coronavirus thing. God's just trying to get our attention. He's desperately trying to get our focus. He's trying to get us to look back to Him. And we got a world full of rebellion. A world full of people that it's like the Bible says, though they have ears, they will not hear. Though they have eyes, they will not see. It's a world full of rebellion. We have to be fully aware of that. And the ones of us that do believe have to do a few things. We need to get a lot more invested in Bible reading and study. A lot more invested in prayer, and we need to start taking our arms together and building a chain link to get out there and reach people. Because I'm telling you right now, people are in desperate need of the Word. Perhaps tonight, you're in desperate need of the Word. Perhaps you've never made a decision tonight to receive the Lord into your heart as your Lord and Savior. And maybe you want to come up and do that. You can do that on your own. You don't need me to intercede between you and God. You never have. But if you're not sure what to say, you're not sure what words to use, you just want a little bit of help getting there, I want you to come down, because I'd love to help you get there. I know if after church today, you say, you know what, I don't want to do it in front of the congregation, but I don't want to leave this place before I make that decision. Listen, come find me. And even if you don't want to talk to me, I'll get you pointed to somebody that you might want to talk to. Because there are lots of people here tonight that are interested in you being saved. Won't you come? Won't you respond?